Now let's get to the news and to Lower Manhattan, where tens of thousands of people flooded the streets as part of a worldwide climate strike.
The Domain was full with protesters concerned about the impact of climate change here and abroad.
For us, climate change is real, and so that's why we've come here to be a voice for our people back home.
School students became activists, turning their backs on school for the day.
They're demanding government and corporate action to keep global temperatures from rising any further.
But as you can see, a lot of children, a lot of youth, and a lot of people were speaking with one voice in downtown Los Angeles.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what constituents look like. This is what community looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what constituents look like. This is what community looks like.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank you all so much for joining us on this day, September 20th, 2019, to strike for our climate. We are Zero Hour, a youth, women of color-led organization leading national and international discussion around the climate crisis and environmental justice creating resources, training, and entry points for young activists like you and me, and organizers all over the world to get involved in this movement that we are quickly losing time to act upon. Together, we are unstoppable. And I will be damned if I let the world leaders who have proven their lack of regard for my future of my generation time and time again determine whether we live or die. We will not let the government strip us of our right to live. With the temperature in Georgia alone have risen an entire 2 degrees within the last 40 years, we must acknowledge the impending effects of the climate crisis. And it's only going to get worse from here. We demand Georgia representatives to take climate action.
We believe that if we work together, we can change the future and have a future.
So something that interests me is that whenever people talk about the climate crisis, a lot of people say, like, we gotta save our future, but I don't think some people are realizing that the effects are happening right now. Like, the Amazon is burning now. There are wildfires, there's more extreme weather. This can all be connected to climate change and the lack of action that's being taken to stop that. So we're fighting now.
I am not a climate change expert, but I do know that hundreds of scientists are telling us that climate change is real and is already upon us. I don't have to tell you the warming of our Earth is occurring much faster than ever before. It cannot be explained by natural causes alone. We've endured some of the hottest months on record. We've experienced heat waves, floods, droughts, massive hurricanes, and more. Low-lying areas in Texas and Louisiana are currently suffering from major flooding. Farmers in India have their crops drying out. Californians are suffering from massive wildfires. Bangladeshi are being flooded out of their homes. Heat waves, such as in Australia this January and Europe in July, reached record highs, at its highest 118 degrees. Greenland and in the Arctic, ice and glaciers are rapidly disappearing, and the coral reefs in the last 30 years have decreased by 50%. If we continue on the path we are on, it is easy to imagine a world with widespread famine, drinking water contamination, displacement of coastal communities, and disruption to entire ecosystems. And we may also see a rise in war over necessities like food and water. And this all sounds like something from a nightmare sci-fi film, but it's all real, and it's happening now. Yet with every challenge, there is hope. Some governments and businesses are starting to take action to reduce greenhouse emissions, but it's not enough. We have to act boldly as if our lives depend on it, because it does. So what can you and I do? We need to demand that our politicians at every level lead us into a renewable energy economy. We need to hold businesses accountable to develop more sustainable practices. And we citizens have a big part to play too. We need to vote for elected officials that will take effective action on the climate crisis. We need to vote with our wallets and support businesses that are doing the right thing. And we need to change our diets to reduce meat consumption. We should not have to fight to have our voices heard by our politicians. We should not have our future sold from us by fossil fuel industries. We should not have to fight our own government to protect our planet. We need unity to make real change in a time when we are so divided. Instead of building walls to divide us, we need to come together across political boundaries, across nations, and across continents to make some big decisions before we get in much, much trouble. The fate of our planet is in our hands. We are the last best hope for the Earth. This is our time, this is our mission, this is our movement. Together, we can change the world.
Save the Earth! 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 Save our 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 Earth!
We are all human beings, sharing the space of Mother Nature who nurtured us. I
strike for our communities, especially the most marginalized, the disabled community, the Black, Brown, Indigenous communities, marginalized communities with an intersection such as race, class, gender, in which they are the most disproportionately affected by climate change. And strike to bring attention to why we are experiencing food shortages, why are we experiencing poor air quality, why? Because the power is in the hands of the wrong people, corrupt politicians, greedy corporations, but we are striking today to remind them that the power is actually in our hands.
We burn $2 billion every year. We burn it by burning fossil fuels. We have to stop burning fossil fuels. We have to use the sunshine that shines for us every day, storage and batteries, and keep those $2 billion in the economy of our state.
We have 11 years, maybe less than that, to turn the situation around. If you are here today, you probably know that. But what you may or may not know is that there is no scenario in which we continue to consume animal products at the current rate. According to the United Nations IPCC, we must reduce meat consumption by around 30% globally in the next decade to meet climate targets. We do not have time to waste, but we still have time to act. As you can see around you, collective action is powerful. Something amazing happens when diverse individuals unite under a common goal. So please transition to a plant-based diet. We need an institutional level revolution when it comes to sustainable food. Be the squeaky wheel, like I am all the time, at the office or at school, and demand that initiatives like Meatless Monday be standard practice. Question the authorities who want to make a quick buck off selling you cancer and pollution, all wrapped up in a bun and a McDonald's wrapper. Because they don't care about you, do they? No. They care about valuing that. They care about profiting from those who are too unaware to demand change. And when they've squeezed money out of you and life out of our planet, they will disappear into a world of luxury and protection. But you and I will remain to pick up the pieces. So please, don't eat that hamburger.
I started with Dr. King in 1959. And I don't feel no way tired. This is an historic day. You are a part of history. You will make a difference. This is our moment. This is our time. We will not bend. We will not bow. We will not break. We will not back up. We will march for climate change. In 1963, I was a foot soldier on the march, and they told me, Durley, you will never vote. Why don't you get your black ass up out of here and go back to Africa? Told me to leave. But it's interesting. That man who told me that, he's dead, and I'm voting every day. He told me I couldn't vote. He died. I'm voting. I'm marching, and I'm standing strong. I want to say, on behalf of Dr. Martin Luther King, you young people, this is your time. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you're too young. Don't ever tell anybody that you cannot make a difference. Today, your being here is making me feel better. So I say to all of you, my next birthday, I'll be 79 years old. And I'm
introduced in Congress. It is now introduced in Congress. It can cut our emissions 30% in 10 years. And what's wonderful about that is that many of us favor more solar panels. Well, it takes a while to get them on the roof. Many of us favor electric cars. It takes a while. Plant trees. It takes a while. Whereas if Congress chooses, they can just get something through very quickly. And so we are working to build that, the political will that Congress will want to ride.
So we've got just over a year to register.
We are the wildfire. And this wildfire is not going to destroy, it's going to bring life. Because that's what we're fighting for, is life. We're fighting for life for the bees and the birds and the trees and the creatures in the oceans and for our futures, our lives. Georgia is on everyone's mind. We've seen what participating in our democracy can do in the House of Representatives and the Congress, but now we need to take that change to the United States Senate. And we can take this message anywhere in Georgia, because we know that Georgia's #1 natural resource is the sun. And I'll never forget the woman who I met from Twiggs County, Georgia, just east of Macon. A lot of arms out there. She came to the Public Service Commission and just a few months ago in June, and she pleaded with the Public Service Commission, please give us more solar energy, because the last solar investment there doubled our tax revenues, supported our schools, supported our hospitals, and gave us jobs and economic development. I'll never forget the other person who came to the Public Service Commission who said that she lives in Southwest Atlanta. She lives in a home that was built 80 years ago and is suffering from poor insulation, single pane windows, and high utility bills. And she was asking for help to weatherize and energy efficientize her home and her neighbors' homes, because we have one of the highest energy burdens in Atlanta, in Athens, and throughout Georgia. The people most vulnerable to climate change are the ones who make the least amount of money, who live near coal ash ponds, who are on the front lines of the climate crisis. And when we talk about investing in a just and equitable transition, what that means is the people who are impacted the most by climate change, by pollution, who have been in the fossil fuel industry, we have to invest there first. And look, y'all, I'm a politician. I'm a little bit full of shit, okay? Don't believe just what I say. Look at what I have done. And then you will know where I stand on the issues. As mayor of the city of Clarkston, Georgia, we are committing ourselves to a 100% clean energy future. We are trying to lead by example. I'm proud to say that later this year, we will be the first city in Georgia to completely have a police fleet that is 100% hybrid powered. We are investing $500,000 over the next 3 years to weatherize over 100 homes, focusing on fixed income seniors and low income residents to help them pay their power bills. That's our investment, our commitment. I was proud to be the director of the Georgia Sierra Club the last 3 years, fighting with people like Neil from the Beyond Coal campaign and Omni from the Sunrise Movement. We've been talking about the Green New Deal for years, and I'm proud to be the first candidate running for U.S. Senate to fully endorse the Green New Deal. The time to act is now. We cannot wait. We are the future. We are the ones that we've all been waiting for. And as we've been saying at marches the last decade that I've been on, in order to change everything, we need everyone.
We have the power in our hands, in our hearts, to change this world forever. To build the kind of society, not just here, but around the world, that we can feel proud to leave our children.
We've got all these coal ash ponds in Georgia. I don't know how many. These folks behind me know more. But Georgia Power, in this next rate case, they're going to ask for lots of money, millions and millions of money, maybe even, I don't even know. They can tell you all the amount. And they are not planning to line the coal ash pits. They've got to line the coal ash pits to protect our drinking water.
I am 15 years old, so I cannot vote, but that will not stop me from trying to make my voice heard. Today, I would like to share with you all something I said in a public hearing at the Georgia Public Service Commission over the summer regarding the IRP, which is Georgia's energy plan for the next 3 years. Climate change isn't just coming, it's already here. So if any politicians think natural disasters happening elsewhere in the world won't affect them, let me put this into perspective. In our home state of Georgia, the number of deadly heat waves per year is projected to more than triple by 2050. The amount of code red and code orange smog days in Atlanta is already increasing. Our farmers in South Georgia have lost more than a third of their pecan trees to hurricanes in the last few years, and the coastal flooding zone is expected to drastically expand due to rising sea levels. Not only is our world in danger, but our home of peaches, pecan pie, and Southern charm is too. So I'd like to say to any of the people currently in power, when you were 15, did you fear for your life and for your future? When you were 15, did you spend hours upon hours researching permits and organizing protests to make the world a better place? When you were 15, did you fear for your future and for your children's future? Probably not, because no 15-year-old or anybody else for that matter should ever have to worry about that. This is our planet, our future, our time to act. And if the fat cat sitting up on Capitol Hill won't do anything, then goddammit, we are going to change the world together!
We need a future too. Even those of us who are older are in danger, not just of a much worse standard of living, not just of, heat waves and pollution and all of the and rising sea levels. We are actually in danger of human extinction. This is way more serious than anybody is saying that it is. And all of the plans that are currently on the table with the current political climate and what's normal, what's business as usual for our political scene right now, none of those plans come anywhere close to truly addressing the scale of the emergency and the urgency of this crisis. And that is why all of us are here striking. And you guys, today is a big day. This is awesome. But today is just the beginning. This is day one of the climate strike, of the global climate strike. I had the privilege of going to Standing Rock with a few friends, some of whom are here. And I met a lot of people there who'd been there for a really long time. And I talked with a lot of people about how long they'd been there and how long they plan to stay. And this was a conversation that I had with so many water protectors at Standing Rock. I would say, so, how long you been here? And they'd say, since the beginning. And I'd say, how long you gonna be here? And they would say, until we win. And so I ask you guys, thank you for being here. Today is day one. Let's keep striking until we win.
Combating climate change in a serious and meaningful way is going to require massive and systemic change. Change that involves people of all ages, but particularly the young people whose futures are at stake. Change that is going to require a new generation of citizens who are hyper-aware of the threat facing us and are equipped to combat it. As we enter the most critical period for climate change intervention, it is important that we raise a generation of critical thinkers, educated not only on the threats of, but the solutions to climate change. For this reason, we need a comprehensive environmental education program, a K-12 curriculum that introduces students to climate change from day one. And doesn't just teach them about it in a classroom, but involves them outside in meaningful ways. Climate change is terrifying, so we need students to understand the massive scale of the threat. But it is equally important to equip them with the skills to combat climate disaster. Every student has the right to learn about and fight for the world they live in. Math and English are seen as paramount to a student's education. It is necessary for all students to get a foundation in math and English because those are the skills essential for accessing and understanding the world we live in. So, just as they need math and English, students also need environmental and climate education for their survival. Climate change cannot remain an issue for those who are lucky enough to have the time and the energy to get involved. We need to provide students with the opportunities and resources from a young age. Like math and grammar standards, climate change is not a partisan issue. It is politicized as if it is one, but it is not. It is a scientific issue, a factual issue, and one that is not up for debate. And it is an issue that we need to address right now. Educating students about the world around them, and not only teaching them about it, but letting them explore it, is especially pertinent right now when the planet is on the curb of irreversible damage. Climate change is the biggest and most pervasive threat facing the world today. That is because it touches on almost every social, economic, or political issue that one can think of. It is an intensely complex global issue that will not only result in terrible environmental effects, but intense social, economic, and political problems. The effects of climate change will be experienced first and most severely by those who have had the least influence in causing it. By implementing a comprehensive and interdisciplinary environmental education program, students will be provided with an awareness of climate change through both knowledge and skills, which will lead them to develop an attitude or a concern for the world around them. This concern leads to practices of citizenry and action through engagement in research, problem solving, and through events like this one. Through alternative learning environments such as school gardens and comprehensive environmental education involving biological, ecological, and agricultural sciences, we will raise students, citizens, and scientists for a better future. It is our futures that are at stake and the futures of generations to come. We need to act now, and that includes a curriculum that educates students on and engages them in climate change. Through environmental education, we can raise a generation of scientists, engineers, activists, policymakers, and citizens who are ready and willing to combat climate change because it is not a partisan issue and it is not a matter of opinion. The effects of climate change will be disastrous if not addressed with meaningful action now and in the next decade, and we need a generation ready to go. Through environmental education, we can begin to address and reverse the challenges facing our planet and its people, and begin to create a more environmentally, socially, and politically sustainable world.
And so, we've been organizing at the Public Service Commission. We basically marched by them earlier. They're the main organization right over here to the left of us. They regulate your energy in the state of Georgia. They set the price for how much you guys pay for electricity, and they determine which electricity plants run and which ones get shut down. And so we've been organizing for the last half year or so, particularly with Atlanta for the Planet, to transition to clean, affordable energy in Georgia. Who wants some clean, affordable energy? Who wants some solar power in this state? All right, same here. So what we were able to do is we were able to get them to double what Georgia Power was willing to offer in terms of solar power here in this state. And we were able to get them to shut down 2 coal plants in this state as well. So we basically got to keep the pressure up on these folks. The Public Service Commission, or state legislators, every elected official in this entire state needs to be hearing y'all's voice. Climate Fridays for the Future actions, they're happening every Friday in schools, on campuses, in colleges, universities, and young folks, old folks, you know, all people of different backgrounds are coming out and standing up against this climate crisis. So are y'all gonna keep this movement going? Hell yeah! The Georgia Power, they're trying to play some nasty games here in our state. They want to charge y'all way more money on your electric bill to get their dirty ass, nasty coal and gas power. Is that cool? No. Hell no. Yeah. Tell me again. Tell me. No coal, no oil. We want solar in Georgia, right? So right now, Georgia Power is basically asking the Public Service Commission, we want to be able to put $16.50 per month on your bill to basically have you pay more for virtually nothing in return for you guys. Yeah. As y'all heard, they're only doing so much more coal, only so much more solar in Georgia, and it's not enough. And they can't be calling on us to pay more while they're poisoning our water, while they're polluting our air, while they're exacerbating carbon emissions. That ain't all right. Is that all right? Hell no! Hell no. All right, so we need y'all coming and joining us in these streets.
So I had to leave school early today to be at this strike. And, my excuse was that I told my friend who was in my last class to tell this to my teacher, that I'm not at school because I'm sick. I'm sick of the lack of action that our representatives are taking toward justice.
The earth is always what has linked me to my people and our traditions. For us, resilience is the land. Our strength is derived from our relationship with the earth. And although there are many nations and many tribes in the world, we all share a common respect for Mother Earth. Indigenous culture is intertwined with the environment, and our identity relies on the land. Over the last few centuries, and especially these past few years, our identity as Native people have shifted with the climate. A girl I follow on Twitter, Shariti, an Alaskan Native, tweeted, "Back at home, villages are having to relocate because of rising sea levels. And it's becoming harder and harder to subsist from the land and the sea. My elders tell me that we're growing up in a different time than they were. In the Amazon, entire indigenous communities are being displaced as the forest burns due to the greed of the Brazilian government and the agribusiness. Across the world, indigenous ways of life are changing. From Australia to America, we are adapting to a new world that our generation is inheriting. Elders tell the tales of land that once was, but we as youth must pass down new ones. It's us who have to deal with the rising oceans and the dying creatures and incorporate them into the way that we live. We indigenous youth are at ground zero for the biggest crisis in history. As people well-versed in sustainable living, Natives know how to solve the climate crisis. Ever since the white man set foot in America, we've been fighting the desecration and destruction of our earth. We have been uprooted and relocated time after time, and we have found new ways to interact with the ecosystem while still maintaining it, unlike these people in our government. It may go against everything our country was built on, but we can save our planet if you give us a voice in this conversation. Don't get me wrong, all youth are going to be facing the consequences of our government's empty promises for years to come. No matter what race you are, your future is being tampered with. It is being threatened. But indigenous youth, we are at the front lines of the climate crisis. Our ancestors taught us to respect the land, but it is our turn now to carry on the tradition and lead our generation to a Green New Deal.
Personally, I feel inspired by all of you, and you guys are what drive me in my activism, and I hope that seeing each other in solidarity inspires you all as well. So don't quit, don't stop. We are the future, and we will win.
To get lost in yesterday, to bring back all these things. I know you love them.